From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Brad Williams. With Gina Grad on news, Bald Brian on sound effects, a Baldywood review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Dave Damashek's here for good sports. And now, he didn't watch the Democratic debate, but he did do something that ends in bait. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get any mandate. You get it on, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for letting us do what we love to do for a living. Good day, Gina Grad.
Good day to you.
Handball, Brian. Lazy usually wins. This half of the show brought to you by rocketmortgage.com/AdamTommyJohn.com as well, and Castrol Edge. Things to talk about. Got some data and some numbers, some things that may surprise people, even Bald Brian, from new Quentin Tarantino stuff. And
I'd love to hear it.
Also, well, we'll get into it when we get into Baldywood. Mm-hmm. Also, I could use my feeling with spell check is it needs to be a little more universal.
Meaning what?
When you go to Rotten Tomatoes, as I go to Rotten Tomatoes, and I just go, I want to know what the score of Reservoir Dogs did, and I go,
how many doubles?
Let's see,
W's?
R-E-S, R-E-S-I-V-I-O-R dogs. And it's like nothing found. And it's like, and I'm like, I get it. It's not spelled right.
Right.
But nothing close. Nothing close to Reservoir Dogs.
I'm on a movie site. What could I be looking for?
Give me some options for my almost Reservoir Dogs, my phonetic Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
That has 13,000 reviews by people who are on your site.
All spelled wrong.
It gives you a link to University of Phoenix night classes.
Now, I was looking up my version of Reservoir and God's version of Reservoir,
right,
and it was just the I and the E that was screwed up.
Oh.
I just want, it's R-E-S-E-V-O-I-R.
Right.
And I went I-V-O-I-R. And dogs, that I got right.
Worlds apart.
That's so there's 11 letters.
Yeah.
One of them is wrong.
You got 10 out of 11.
They got nothing for me.
I mean, it's a predictive text.
They just have nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like we've not found any matches
Did
for
you mean
that.
snow dogs?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, let me type in Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, Jesus.
KW.
Quint W. No. Q. I had nothing. There's nothing because I spelled Tarantino like I went Tarrant. I think I went T-A-R-E instead of A or whatever it is.
Sure.
How could
It's
they
like,
ever
we
know?
got nothing.
Yeah.
We got nothing. What, do we have to be family members to get this right? I'm sorry. It's not a thing. It's a name. People know the name, but if you stop most people on the street and you go, the correct spelling of Quentin Tarantino right on through, there's a crisp 100 waiting for you, not many people would collect.
No.
Indeed. And again, it's not Google. It's not every search available in the world. It's a movie site. There is a finite number of things you're going to see. People, movies. That's kind of
That's it. Maybe plot.
Oh, and then I went
Plot
on.
keywords.
Yeah.
Then I went on to Django.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
J.
They're not going to get me this time. ZH.
I was like, nothing. It's like, come on, you got to give me something. I got the other part. Why is there nothing? Why do we have no thoughts? Like, what if you were speaking to somebody and you're spelling it out?
Right.
Would they not have some thoughts? And again, there's a context. It's movies.
Right.
And if you go to Django or Reservoir Dogs, I don't know, the people have voted 26,000 times. Like there's some
popular movie.
There's activity here.
It's in the Criterion Collection for a reason.
I hope
not
you
a
didn't
deep
try Inglourious
cut.
Bastards.
Oh, that was tough too.
Ironically, he nailed that one because it's intentionally misspelled.
Spelled wrong.
Is it?
Yeah.
Didn't even know it.
Bastards.
And Glorious also spelled it wrong.
Oh, didn't even know that? So probably nailed that one. The point is this. It's a big enough website. there's enough movies with enough weird names. Like there's some horror movie out now called Sumner or something. Not Summer.
Midsummer.
Whatever. Aren't people going to just screw it up and write Midsummer and then you're going to go, I got nothing.
Right.
Then I go, sorry.
Never heard of
Don't
it.
know what you're talking about. They're a computer, right? Isn't it? Don't they use a computer?
This explains why Jamiroquai never sold any albums
Yes.
once the internet came around.
Yep.
I think the internet has figured this out, but Rotten Tomatoes, no quarter. You either nail this shit, it must be run by a 12-year-old Indian girl who's just arms folded, just like, fuck you. If you can't fucking spell it right, get your shit
like,
out. I don't want you
Reservoir?
on my site. I don't need your traffic if you can't nail it.
Can you give me the country of origin?
Yes, I mean, there's movies like Lucky Number 11 or something.
That's
How many
right.
people just write Lucky Number 7? It's like, we got nothing.
Bullet.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, nothing. We got nothing for you. Aren't many movies having many titles like
Yes.
that
Pursuit
are
of Happiness.
bizarre and weird, and it's not all just up?
7 with the number 7. They're
Yeah.
all stylized.
Yeah, can't you help us out? Could you help
It'd be
a brother
nice.
out a little here?
Yeah.
With that? Reservoir Dogs. All right. There was one letter that was wrong. Still nothing?
Yeah.
No help.
And not an obscure movie.
No.
How many Reservoir Dogs, like how many audience reviews are on like Reservoir Dogs? And again, Max Matt, just type in Reservoir and do it with an I and see what comes up. What comes up is nothing.
By audience reviews, there are 445,710.
Oh my God.
Okay, so it exists on your site. Why is this? And why in a world where this is taken care of for you in so many different places, or they go, did you mean, or here's the 5 closest. You can go to some car auction site and misspell Ferrari, and it'll still pop up with a bunch of junk like this is. Are you looking for this?
Oh, if you were to text any one of us, just mashed 5 random letters, it would find the closest combination of letters that made a word.
So if you don't spell Django Unchained, or if you don't spell Quentin Tarantino's name exactly right, you get nothing. It's kind of weird, right?
Pulp Fiction in 4 rooms. That's
Yes.
all you got.
That's right. So anyway, I was looking up some Rotten Tomatoes score. I'll share you guys with that later. And look, obviously, it highlights my moronic ship, but I would argue no one is born knowing how Quentin Tarantino spells his name.
Not even Quentin Tarantino.
And that's a
Least
good
of
point.
all.
And this is not something that most Americans would nail the first try out.
No.
Why are we making it tough? Once I get through Quentin and I start doing a T, why doesn't this whole world just come up?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I had a lovely discussion with my mom on Sunday, which was
Hot muffin talk.
hot muffin. We talk about the Gravaches. At some point, my stepdad explains he had to change a tire on the station wagon, and then we get into detail about how that works. I said I did something I've never done before, which is I've sort of asked a follow-up question, which is why no follow-up questions are my questions. And I said, so I have, well, I don't know. You guys tell me. I have a sort of obsession with people when you say to them, when they go, what have you been up to? And you go, I just finished a documentary. And they go, oh, okay. Hey, they got 7-layer dip at the table. You want a scoop? Like, where you go, you don't ask what it's about. Like,
How do you make a documentary?
A cursory follow-up.
Just what is it on? Like, there's a lot of that. I think
Or what was that like?
something.
Yeah.
The follow-up question part, it always makes me think they think you're lying.
Yeah.
Because if they
Getting
believe you
uncomfortable.
finished
They don't impress you on
a
it.
documentary,
Yeah.
they kind of got to know, like, what's the subject
Yeah,
of the
they're letting you off
documentary.
the
But
hook.
anyway, I come from a group of those people. And I was, but I finally said to my mom and my stepdad, so I said, they said, what have you been up to? I said, I've been doing a lot of stand-up, and I've been bringing Sonny with me. We're having a good time, and we're coming into Monterey. Going to do a show at the Golden State Theater, August 17th. Adam Carolla's Unprepared with Adam Ray. And I said, we're going to Monterey. We're going there for the car weekend, so I'll do my next show out of town, and we'll do a show over there in Monterey. And Sonny, he works the merch table, has a good time, blah, blah, blah. And then, there's the pause and the nothing. And then I go, yeah, the Monterey car weekend. It's a big deal. Probably get 100,000 plus people at the track. And so we'll tow the car in on Wednesday night, and then we'll set up, and then it's racing. Then we'll do the race all weekend. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then, we get the car prepped, and we get all the equipment, and there's like a little weird stuff. Like I said, there's an airport in Monterey, but we drive up. We have a truck with the trailer. The trailer's got the race car. It's got all the equipment. 2 guys drive that. We get another car. We drive up separately. Then, qualifying on Friday, race on Saturday. Okay. So at a certain point, about 10 minutes later, I said, and I think I've been able to now figure out my entire childhood. I said, any questions about the race? What kind of car are you driving in this race, or how does it work?
How many people? How expensive is it?
Any questions about what kind of car I'm driving? And my mom goes, well, I don't know anything about cars.
Isn't that why you ask questions?
I thought, that is kind of why you don't know anything about anything, because you don't ask questions. But I know you're offering this up as a reason as to why you're not asking anything. But what if you just said, I'm doing a black powder rifle shooting tournament, and then you said to me, any questions? I went, I don't know anything. I'm like, well, isn't this now time to ask you about flints and powder and muskets and things of that? Is this an opportunity?
Yeah. And perhaps at the end, you might know a little bit about that subject.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's a danger of knowing something that your son is interested in, and that's a very slippery slope.
That's a risk you may have to take, though.
Next thing you know, you're going to find out about the grandkids, and then where would we be? But it is and it reminded me, I started thinking, I think this is just her in a nutshell, which is she's getting defensive about not asking questions, but her defense is the reason she should be asking questions.
Is ignorance.
I don't know anything about cars. Okay, let me tell you about the car.
Right.
You drove a car to my house. So there's a baseline.
You know a little about cars.
A baseboard.
A baseline of car knowledge. Right. Now, if I said it was a Porsche, you'd go, I've heard of a Porsche.
Yep.
And if I said
Sounds
it's
expensive.
Paul Newman's Porsche, you would go, I've heard of Paul Newman.
I never much cared for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's okay. He's hit and miss.
So we could work. We got some basis, but we never get to that point. But it kind of reminded me of when we had Damashek call in, his mom call in and take my mom on the trivia, the Adam Carolla Show trivia. My mom's reasons that she kept offering up for not knowing anything about the morning show that was in her town was, how would I possibly know that? Yeah. Which was...
How should I know?
Which is, well, again, they're both kind of halves of a different horse costume. One is, I don't know anything about cars, so I'm not going to ask you anything about cars, and don't tell me anything about cars, which is like, right, you don't know anything about cars, but you could know something about cars. And then the other part is, how would anyone possibly know who the name of your black intern is? Well,
how would I know that?
If you asked me questions about the show The Wire, I couldn't do that. But if my son was in the show The Wire, and I presumably watched the show The Wire, then I could tell you the name of the guard who was in the show The Wire.
A little bit of trivia holstered.
It's a weird disconnect that she kept saying, how would anybody know, or how could anyone? Of course, it was comical because Damashek's mom from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, would immediately chime in with the answer because she would listen online.
Right.
Because her son was on the show.
Didn't even have to move a dial.
But it just struck me. I thought, okay, I guess we'll just never talk about anything because you don't know about anything and you don't ask questions about anything, and then you get defensive about people asking you about things. So we'll just sit here.
There's also a social decorum, sort of like where like, oh, this person's into this thing. I will at least cursory engage them in conversation about it. It's not important to me, but it's important to them. So let's have a pleasant conversation for 5 minutes and move on.
Right.
And it doesn't skip a generation. She's not just obsessed with Sonny and Natalia in any way.
Who?
Okay.
No.
She knows everything about Fortnite.
No. So
She knows everything about Fortnite.
there was that. I had my first sort of weird social media shame dream.
Mm-hmm.
So a few days back, I hadn't had one of these dreams before, but I had a weird dream where I was being shamed on social media.
By the mob. The shame mob.
By the mob.
What'd you do this time?
No.
I was in this, like, we're in this environment. You know, it's a dream, so everything makes sense, but nothing really makes sense. And everyone's just kind of living, and we're all kind of living together. And we're living up on this, like, hill. Or everyone's just living. And I was forced to, like read from something to the group. And there was a word that was like a made-up word. It was like marca. I try to remember it and write it down, but it's like so and so and so, and then we used the marca to use the blah. It wasn't anyone's name. It was just like the name, as a name of something that didn't exist or I wasn't familiar with or didn't whatever. And then I had to like repeat it, and I said like anyway, so and such and such. I was like reading out loud. I said the marca, and then like a voice from up in the hill or back in the crowd went, it's not marca, it's micra.
It's God.
And I yelled, oh, shut up, cunt. Like, I was just like, I just stop fucking correcting me. And it was this tall black female basketball player, and everyone was like, you called her a cunt? And I was like, I wasn't even really looking up. I just yelled out like, shut up, cunt. And everybody turned, like the village was turning on me, and everyone wanted me out of the village and everything. And it was like my first weird social media village dream. I imagine nightmares used to be floods and tornadoes and boogeymen and ghosts and monsters, but there must be a fair bit of social media dreaming going on.
Yeah, you were outcast.
Yes.
Well, did you stand your ground? Did you run?
I think I just had to take a piss, so I woke up.
Just stood up.
For the best.
But it was like a weird social media, and I was like, I didn't know. I don't think black women are cunts. I was just yelling out like, shut up, like stop correcting me. But she was sort of a black female sports kind of a hero, and people are like, you've just attacked one of the Williams sisters or something. That's right. That's what it was.
Wow.
That was interesting.
You okay?
We should get her on the show to apologize.
I should. Hey, Max and Pat, I did write down. Where were we Saturday night when Mike ordered a full steak?
Oh, at the Canyon Club in Pasadena.
You understand that when we were playing the Canyon Club in Agora all those years ago after the 20 exchanges about going with Nick Santora to Mastro's, Mike ordered a steak that night. Well, there were 20 more emails about going to Mastro's in like Thousand Oaks before the Canyon Club show in Agora. And now this isn't quite as bad, but it's pretty bad. So Mike and I were like, oh, we're going to meet Nick. We'll meet at Mastro's. We're going to eat. We're going to eat. Poor Santora. We invited Santora to go to eat with us. Started the first half hour of the conversation like, what are you up to, Nick? He literally pitched us 4 TV shows that had all been picked up, and at a certain point I just went, well, you're paying. We invited you to come out to eat, but once your 4th show got picked up,
we were going halvesies at show number 3.
Yeah, I said Mike's building a patio at his house, so that's about all he's got going. So, but anyway, with knowing we're going to Mastro's for a steak the night before Saturday, Mike ordered a full steak meal backstage, Pasadena, and then announced it was inedible, but ate it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What did he do?
He also ordered a lasagna for the table.
Jesus. For the table.
What?
That's not really a sharing
That's one of the
food.
least for the table items ever.
Maybe jalapeno poppers, not lasagna.
The majesty of Mike is the last time we went with Nick Santora to Mastro's, he ordered a steak that night and announced it was a horrible steak.
As he's
Because
licking his lips.
these are bars. These are like honky tonks. They're not. People don't go there to eat steaks. They go to
Right.
eat drinks and
Yeah,
jalapeno
fries,
poppers.
yeah.
And
He ordered it rare too, just because he's like, they always overcook these, so I got to order it rare.
he didn't learn his lesson at all because then the next time we did it, he just ordered a steak the night before at the same place.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So there's what you need to know about Mike.
He still ate a lot of it though. He wasn't happy about it, but he still
Of
put
course
it
he
down.
ate it.
You got Danny
Yeah.
Two Sheets. You got Mikey Two Steaks.
I know, Mikey Tuesday.
Mikey Tuesday.
All right, let's see. I got this AOC clip, which bothered me. Oh, we got our poll. Our poll, which is Uber sticker on the car versus Ralph's Club medallion on the keychain. Now, I don't know if Ralph's Club is everywhere in the United States, but whatever the version of the
Kroger's
savings
or
Kroger, your
Safeway.
Hy-Vee
card
yeah,
is
your
that's
Aldi.
visible on the keychain.
Yeah.
How do the ladies think? Now, for guys like Brian, it's like this is an easy one.
Yeah,
the
what's
Ralph's
to think about?
one, right? But women are much more nuanced.
Indeed.
And when I mean nuance, I mean they make no fucking sense. So this can be one of those things. It's a deal breaker when to the super pragmatic guys, it's like so this person saves money and shops. What's the big deal?
It's
Gina
not-
had a look on her face.
It's not hot.
I know, and I'm curious.
The lift of the glowing light is.
Well, I'm curious what we put it out there. We got the scorecard. Oh, let's not put it up yet. Let's guess. Now,
The question is which one's which one? How is it phrased? Just so someone tell us how it was
Yeah.
phrased.
Which is less attractive?
Okay.
less attractive.
And this was aimed at the ladies.
So which is more negative? And
Ladies, what's more unattractive?
right, or however you do it. But either way, would you rather go on a date with the guy with the Uber sticker or go on a date with a guy with the Ralph's Club saving? Now, if you would have asked Brian this a few days ago, it'd just be 100% to 0.
Yeah, why even bother posting the question?
But Gina has weighed in.
Yeah, man.
And it was my impulse when I was crafting this. My impulse was, oh, this one's easy. And then I thought, easy for me and Brian, but I don't know for ladies.
No, you're
I'm
right.
gonna die on this hill. I'm gonna pray that it's the Uber sticker. The
Right.
one. I'm gonna
But
pray.
that,
makes-
when it starts to bow and it's kind of that bubbled Ralph's card that he pulls on his
means he
keychain,
uses it a lot.
it
It means
really
you're a loyal
dries you
customer.
up.
And
It
it's
means
got-
you're good for a long-term
It's
relationship.
got human fecal matter on it, and a swastika's been carved in with a with a buck knife.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, this is your pie versus cake. You got to get the average pie versus your average cake.
And you know when the guys got the Uber sticker, but it's a fully loaded Mercedes-Benz E-Class. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that, Gina. It's the card
get it.
in the car
Yeah,
and the sticker.
I know. That's the
Okay.
thing.
All right.
I'm praying it's the Uber sticker.
So give me a percentage.
60-40.
60-40.
60-40 Uber.
Yeah.
That's not much.
No, it's not. I've been humbled by Gina's weighing in. I would have guessed initially like 90-10, but I'm going to
Gina,
go 60-40.
what do you got?
I'm going to say 70-30 Ralph's.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
Wow. I don't know what to do.
The only embarrassing thing would be if you were on a date with the Uber guy and somebody jumped in the car. Other than that, the Ralph's thing is not great.
You're envisioning a relationship with this man.
Him saving 20% on produce is not great.
Why do I have to know about it?
Well, I got to broadcast that shit.
Women don't make sense. That's what I'm saying.
So,
All
Gina,
right.
the know about it thing works for the Uber sticker. You realize that's meant to hail people from a distance.
I know, Brian.
I'm trying to think
fuck.
if Gina represents.
Yeah.
Almost
You know,
never.
Easy Listening is sponsored by Lyft. Easy Lifting.
That was good. Thank you. Easy listening with Gina Grant and Teresa Strasser.
I'm going to say it's closer, but I got to go with.
Come on.
I got to go
It was
with
your
Brian. I go
theory.
55-45 with Brian, and it's worse to have the Uber sticker than the Ralph's Club card.
Let's see.
Oh, thank
Ooh,
Christ.
interesting.
Wow.
Wow.
57-43 Uber.
So it's edged it out, but not
by a lot.
Not by a lot. And
People don't like that keychain, man.
also, I would argue that maybe the ladies who listen to this program run a little more pragmatic than most folks on the street.
Sure.
Maybe?
Makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Okay, because out in the wild, this could be
Flipped.
Because
pretty easily.
If I remember correctly, when you first couched this, you started with Uber sticker, and then anything else it was going to be, it was obviously going to be Uber stickers worse, until you said Ralph's Club. There's something about it.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I got this clip of the squad with AOC and Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib, and they're talking about... So, every person who comes in here and does Take a Knee, almost every person talks about interning and getting to the right place at the right time and showing up. It's a thing that I did with K-Rock. It's a thing that Jimmy did early on with radio. But it's kind of a thing that most successful people... all the successful people I know go, well, I went to college, but when I started interning at Letterman, that's when I really took off.
Right.
I started interning. I was there for about a year. I was Johnny on the spot. Next thing you know, they moved. I was an usher, and then I became a segment producer.
Pick up an extra shift here and there.
And I just showed up, and I was
First in,
there.
last
And I was
out.
like, yeah, everybody who interns learns a ton more than they would have if they didn't. And so then we get into this thing where it's like, well, what about interning? Should these people be paid? And my answer is, we have signed off on the notion, in order to intern, you have to be enrolled in college. Usually, the rules are
Credit.
different around from different, I don't know, state to state, but you're in college.
Yeah.
Okay, college. Everyone's embraced the concept of you pay college money and then they give you information or they give you a skill set.
Certification.
Yeah, there's truck driving school. Nobody pays you to go to truck driving school. You pay Debbie Dutzen.
Right.
She should know.
She should know.
She's Debbie Dutzen.
Well, I suppose, it would make sense that AOC herself would have gone to bartending school. Got to pay them and got to get your certification.
Yeah, I bet she didn't, but you could go to bartending school. That was
It's
one
a
of the
thing,
things,
sure.
a truck driver school or whatever. Don't go to both. It sends a dangerous message.
Yeah, that's a moonlighting you want to
When
do.
you're explaining to the cop, the reason I'm speeding in my 18-wheeler's on the way to bartending school.
You understand.
We use live ammo. Anyway, so everyone I've ever talked to who's gotten anything out of it, Brian Grazer, all these guys. It's like, I showed up, I got in this guy's office, I
Yep.
told him whatever he wants, I'll do it for free. And I like it, and it's important. But AOC wants everyone to get paid to intern, which is, again, it's more valuable than college. So you could say, then pay me to go to college or dentist school or whatever. But here's a little audio clip, and we'll see if we can make sense of it.
What I hear a lot is, okay, they're unpaid, but they're getting so much experience. What's your response?
Experience doesn't pay the bills.
Well, it kind of does pay the bills if you really think about it.
It will.
It's a fucked up way of thinking. Look, obviously the woman's dumb. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's not clear-headed. You don't think that way. The amount of money that Daniel Kellison has made over his career working for free for Letterman for 2 years, it's not calculable.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yes. Right.
So or Brian Grazer, like everybody. Now it's obviously provided people show up and you give them something to do, not go up and clean the gutters. But there's going to be, like, they do that thing where everyone goes, oh, you got someone to go get yourself coffee now. Yes, there is going to be getting coffee. The problem with paying everybody is now they're going to be more selective. They're going to go, well, look, if I'm going to pay you, I need you to have a little experience in production or whatever the business is.
That was exactly my question. It's not an internship anymore. It's a job. So why would you pay somebody to do something they've never done before?
Well, you have to have requirements for a job. For
Right.
an internship, you're literally just there to learn.
I also feel, and I've been on both sides of this, when you are paying somebody versus not paying someone. If you know someone is just here for free, as the boss or as the supervisor, or as the manager, whatever, you feel a little bit compelled to like impart a little knowledge or explain things in between their Starbucks runs. You feel like you need to, and by the way, here's how we do the so-and-so at the so-and-so room. When they're just getting $15 an hour, then it's all just go get the coffee, go collate that, go to Kinko's, make a run, make a Staples run. It's kind of, I don't know what it is. It's misguided, and it's the opposite of what works. And I just want to hear it one more time because it's the exact opposite of the truth, which is you do pay everyone for their experience. The reason you're paying Mark Garagos what you're paying Mark Garagos is because of his vast experience. And when I was a
probably interned.
When I was a carpenter, you paid me for my experience as well. All right, and I would have been an intern as a carpenter gladly if I could have learned finish work versus just digging ditches. All right, one more time, sorry.
What I hear a lot is, okay, they're unpaid, but they're getting so much experience. What's your response?
Experience doesn't pay the bill.
Ugh. All right, 1,000% wrong. Thank you. All right, and let's not unintended consequences, everybody. You pass a law that says no more free internships. We must now pay interns, and we will stop hiring people with no experience.
It's just easier.
Yeah, and we now need you to perform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, did you start off as an intern here?
I did, yes.
Yeah, at a certain point, like, you couldn't do the internship anymore. Started paying him, and now look at him now.
Look at him now.
Look at him now.
Look at me now.
Jump up so we can look at you now.
Okay.
All right. We got a Baldywood here. I got some Rotten Tomatoes scores here. Brad Williams is coming up. Why don't we want to take a quick break and do Baldywood, or you want to roll right into Baldywood?
Let's roll into Baldywood.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, let's just do it.
Hooray for Baldywood. He will tell you if a movie's good. Brian will review the flicks that he's seen up on the big screen or in his Netflix queue. Before you spend bucks, remember his taste sucks. He loved that train wreck piece of shit Transformers 2. Hooray for Baldywood.
Probably should ask before the show, but has Brad seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Let me find out.
Okay, that would be a good thing to ask before the show. By me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is in theaters now. It came out this past weekend, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, the 9th film by Quentin Tarantino. This one stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate, Timothy Olyphant, Al Pacino, Emile Hirsch, Luke Perry in his final role. Way too many more notable names and faces to mention. This is a movie that you will constantly be just seeing faces. Dakota Fanning pops up as a Charles Manson family member. Lena Dunham's in there. Like it's everywhere you look, it's peppered with recognizable names and faces. So I'm not going to bother. That said, this movie this is Quentin Tarantino's biggest opening weekend, $40 million at the box office, number 2, and his biggest opening to date. Good for him, because here's a little interesting story about the production of this film. So, all of Quentin Tarantino's movies have been produced by the Weinstein Company or Miramax. Harvey Weinstein.
Love those dudes.
Longtime lovers of Quentin Tarantino and his films. He helped put them on the map, as a big movie studio. But of course, he severed his ties with Harvey Weinstein in the last couple, 2-3 years. And actually, so there was a bidding war for this movie, right? There was he's looking for a new distributor, and Quentin Tarantino's a big name. And it got out that this movie is going to star not A-listers, A-plus listers.
Global superstars.
You could say the 2 biggest stars
Yes.
in the world. It would not be a stretch. So it was a huge bidding war. Sony won the bidding war. They included a $95 million production budget. I think that was by far the biggest of his career.
Yeah.
Final cut privileges and, quote, extraordinary creative controls, plus 25% of first dollar gross. Which, now, for people listening who might not know what that means, sometimes you get points on the movie. You might make, if the movie makes a profit, I'm making air quotes, because a lot of times creative accounting in Hollywood, will show, Star Wars actually lost money. I was like, okay. Whatever this movie makes, if it's $40 million, Quentin Tarantino just made $10 million this weekend. He's getting 25% of whatever it brings in from that first dollar.
Yeah, and what people... as
That's rare.
Ryan just said, but what they do is they go, we spend so much on outdoor advertising, and you can never fully account everything, and they just go, that's it. That's how much it it costs us, and so you're not going to get profits till we get into profits. We got to recoup all the money we spend on outdoor advertising, and you have no way to ever quantify that, and they never do it for you.
First dollar gross is about as good as it gets these days. Plus, the rights to the movie revert to him. He owns the movie after like a decade or two. So they said 10 to 20 years. And it's funny because we talked yesterday with Martin Cove, was a small part in the movie, but we asked, I think, remind me what the question was, but it was like, how much do you think Quentin loves movies? Or you're asking what he does all day. And then it went into like he must love movies, but like other directors, how much do they really love movies? You know what I mean? And
yes.
Quentin Tarantino owns the New Beverly and like programs, it's a theater out here in Los Angeles, like an independent movie theater, and programs the movies of old movies he loves. Like the video store, everyone knows, but he worked in the video store for years when he was younger.
He lives the life.
He, like Martin Scorsese before him, he's one of those guys who authentically like breathes movies.
I've seen him at ArcLight 3 times.
Yeah.
Well,
spends a lot of time in movies.
Yeah, I mean, Coppola loves movies, but he loves wine and vineyards too. You know what I mean? He has other things going on.
I was thinking about it, like Oliver Stone, Spike Lee. I mean,
he likes
these guys,
Vietnamese he. So there's other activities.
Yes, these guys have other interests. I don't know that Quentin Tarantino has a ton of other interests, and good for him because that makes great movies.
Right.
84% of Rotten Tomatoes. This one, so Jeannie, you have not seen this yet?
No.
Okay, so the story is Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is Adam has seen it, by the way, is a sort of a he's in 1968 Hollywood. He's on the second half of his career. You know what I mean? He's on the downslope a little bit. He was on a show called, what was the show called? Bounty Law. Bounty Law.
Kind of like a Gunsmoke.
Kind of a Gunsmoke kind of thing. And he was a big Western star, TV star. People know who he is. He's very famous. But he's had seen better days. He's cooling off a little bit. And Brad Pitt Cliff Booth is his stuntman. And Brad's still kind of hanging on. And it's actually as much Brad Pitt's story as it is Leonardo DiCaprio's story. You know, you actually know more about Brad Pitt and his sort of off hours.
Yeah, a little more, probably. A little more if you put a timer on it of individual stuff in a weird way, maybe a little more Brad Pitt.
Yeah, kind of like how Pulp Fiction was maybe a little more Samuel L. Jackson than was John Travolta.
Yep.
You got more with Travolta, but you learn more about. Anyway, so anyway, he has a house up on Cielo Drive, and if that name sounds familiar, Cielo Drive was where Sharon Tate and her associates were killed by the members of the Manson family in 1969. And it turns out they're next door neighbors. What do you know? Rick Dalton finds out that Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski are living next door to him.
Yeah. And for him, his career's kind of sunsetting a little bit, and he's got this hot director and this hot starlet up the hill, so he'd kind of like to be friends with them.
That's right.
Because it's his career
and they're
that's
constantly
going
in and
down,
out,
and theirs is going up. Yeah.
They're constantly in and out in the hot car, the gates, you know what I mean? They're on the upswing. And of course, Sharon Tate, beautiful, starring in movies, blah, blah, blah. Then we get Spawn Ranch, we get all the characters, Charles Manson actually plays a very small role in this movie. I was expecting a little more, but it's a very small role. And things happen, and the movie unfolds from there. It's like someone tapped Quentin Tarantino on the shoulder and was like, hey, man, you love the late 60s, right? Like, all your movies, whether they're set in modern times or olden times, everyone seems like they're out of the late 60s. Like, yeah, like, why don't you just make a movie set in the late 60s? Like, oh my God, I wish I'd thought of that. And so we get this, and it's we mentioned yesterday, it's peppered with Easter eggs. You said the Jack Steffen plumbing, a van drives by or whatever, and there's one part where there's a big Kahuna burger in the background.
Nice.
From Pulp Fiction and all that.
Tasty burger.
I'm wondering what you think. Do you think? I have to do more research on this. All of everything, all the signs are restored to the olden times. All that, it's just every landmark you can think of in LA from that era. Was it digital or was it a very, very, very expensive production? We already mentioned they gave him $100 million to work with.
Yeah, do we remember any giant road closures about a year and a half ago?
He shot at places like Musso Franks and things that have been around since the 20s or the 30s.
But all the exteriors too, with all the cars and all.
Sadly, as someone who's driven up and down it a few times, the supply sergeant across the street from Musso Franks, and so on and so forth, there's stretches of Hollywood Boulevard that are untouched.
Oh, really?
Well, if you look at that stretch by Kimmel's Theater, the one side that built the whole big complex
Hollywood
on.
and Highland.
But the other side, as you go past and you head, I guess, east, I guess on Hollywood or west.
East towards like the freeway.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean east toward downtown. I'm a little confused. Is that all right? Anyway, as you go,
You step out of Kimmel's Theater and take a right.
Step out of Kimmel's Theater, take a right, and you go toward downtown LA. That is unchanged.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Musso Franks, you have the Supply Sergeant, you have all those storefronts. They've not been touched. And now you get down to the end, they put up a condo or a high rise, whatever. But there's stretches of Hollywood that are from the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They're not touched.
Okay.
And it is that one little stretch before Hollywood and Highland and that new thing, and then the next big intersection down a few blocks where they put up a W Hotel or whatever hotel, what it is. But the stretch in between, pretty old.
Yeah, and it stars in the movie. I mean, it's Musso and Franks, it's El Coyote, it's every LA
El
landmark.
Coyote is a perfect example, and so is what was the other?
Casa Vega.
Casa Vega. Dinner till midnight, amigos. By the way, Casa Vega was our underage drinking joint, like how everyone had the place they could order drinks when they were 19.
Better if it's run by people who didn't ask a lot of questions.
Casa Vega was that place. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, I thought, we mentioned it yesterday, I thought it was his funniest movie.
Not CGI, says Max Zapata.
Damn.
Yeah, they built facades. They got construction crews and built facades over the old
I do not remember that.
But Quentin Tarantino's an analog guy. We talked about his process. Like, I was a big Tarantino geek back in the day and read books about it. Like, he writes out, at least wrote out his scripts longhand with a black pen and a red pen. He made revisions with the red pen and wrote the script with the black pen. And also, the other thing we talked about Martin Cove, which is funny because I do remember this also, was Quentin is such a encyclopedia of movies that he will use movies as reference points for his actors and like cinematographers. Like, okay, you know that scene from blah blah blah. I want it to look kind of like that, but or you know that performance where I want it to be a little bit like that. It's all references from other things. I thought the movie was hilarious. I thought it was one of his funniest movies. You said you found it. The jokes were kind of hit and miss.
I was missing the zesty dialogue. And the jokes. I was enjoying the visual parts of it, and and more just sort of marveling at how weird we were back then, and how people dressed, and how they smoked, and how they interacted.
Was it heightened? Not like in a John Waters caricature way.
His least heightened movie.
But it was just. I found it to be a very interesting movie, but I didn't find it to be a funny movie or for his types of movies.
It's his least violent movie, certainly since Jackie Brown, possibly overall.
I'm laughing because Mike August hated it, and Chris said he was stress eating after we saw it in Pasadena.
He was so upset.
He was very upset about this movie.
I mentioned that I loved the character development. These are the two best male characters I think he's ever done. I really knew these dudes and it was. Dare I say it was a sweet Tarantino movie? I kind of felt, I felt pathos for like these two dudes.
Yeah.
How much did they end up folding in the Manson murders?
It's a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Or is that something you want to just kind of go see?
I will not address it. I'll just say it's a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Okay.
He does have He has issues with ladies. If you see what he does, if you remember.
Tarantino?
If you remember Hateful Eight, Jennifer Jason Leigh got punched in the face
multiple times.
Oh, Kill Bill.
80 times. Yeah. And there's a scene toward the end of this movie where some ladies are taking a little bit of punishment. And to the point where it's kind of like, oh.
We get it.
We get it.
So speaking of which, the last thing I'll say is this. Gina, you reported on this story a couple of weeks or months ago when a reporter asked Tarantino at a press conference or a panel, they were like, why did you have Margot Robbie in the movie and give her so few lines? And I was outraged at the question, like, how dare you? After seeing the movie, I'm still outraged. It at least makes sense in the context of the movie because Margot Robbie's on screen a lot. She doesn't say a lot. Like, she's actually, featured, walking or doing things.
Like, if she were to thumb through the script, she'd be like, huh?
Yeah, her name's throughout. Sharon then does this, Sharon then does this. She doesn't talk a lot.
Okay.
She was on her own a lot
yes.
in the movie, and maybe that was, I'm sure, well, it's all intentional. He wrote it.
That's
she didn't have anybody to talk to. She was sitting in a movie theater alone. She was up in a room, folding clothes alone.
Yeah.
She just didn't have, she was there. She was there, actually, she was there to kind of notice things, see things, and do whatnot. And also, I mean, this is probably what the critic was beefing about, but she's so watchable that just her crossing the street in Westwood and buying a ticket for the theater and going into the theater, it's like you're amazed by it. You're enraptured by it. Like
there's also a cool trick by Tarantino, which is the audience knows in real life Sharon Tate gets brutally murdered.
Right.
And there's always that element of danger around every corner.
Right.
But again, it's his choice. He can give whatever actors he wants, whatever lines he wants.
But she just wasn't. Everyone else, not everyone else, but many others sort of had a partner.
Right.
She didn't really have. I mean, she was alone a lot.
Yes.
So there you go. All right.
I liked it quite a bit. I recommend it.
No clip.
I put a number. No, there's one clip out there, and it's only okay. So no clip. Go see the movie. I liked it a lot.
Hooray for Bollywood!
So here, Brad Williams is waiting out there. Max Zapata, I don't know if you have a updated audience score on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I think you said another one over the phone with me than what you printed on this page, but we'll figure this out. Here is the pecking order or the power rankings for Quentin Tarantino audience score movies 1 through 10. Brian and I picked our favorites yesterday, but here's an interesting audience score. Pulp Fiction, number 1 with 96%. Reservoir Dogs, number 2 with 94%. Django, Unchained, number 3 with 91%. I liked Django, I think, a lot more than Brian did.
I still liked it, but you liked it a lot more than I did, yes.
Number 4, Kill Bill 2. Number 5, Inglourious Bastards. Kill Bill 2 is 89%. Inglourious Bastards, 88%. Number, what am I on, 6? Jackie Brown, surprise, 85%. Number 7, Kill Bill Volume 1, 81%. Number 8, Hateful Eight at 76%. Number 9, Death Proof, tied with Once Upon a Time at 72% for the people's opinion on these. Is it? Oh, no. Yeah, it said...
We have 2 different computers that say 2 different things.
It's the lowest, because you told me 71 on the phone, goofball.
Yeah.
It's the lowest people score of a Quentin Tarantino movie.
I got two theories, 2 observations about that. Number one, as it pertains to Django, a lot of times the audience score is a reflection of how enjoyable people found the movie, and I think Django is very pleasing because the slaves rise up and then they kill the evil slave owners.
But there's a lot of crazy violence.
True.
All right.
But as it pertains to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the audience score can also reflect expectations. And when you see Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, you're like, this is going to be a major blockbuster, Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm going to go see this, and it's a Quentin Tarantino, think piece. So
I agree, but you would have not have thought after walking out of theater that it would be the lowest score from the people.
Especially how much you hated Hateful Eight.
I'd probably hate Hateful Eight.
I like the Hateful Eight, but I'm the only one. Oh,
I like it. I've seen it. I think I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
It's the second lowest of the critics' scores.
If it's on, I'll watch it.
After Death Proof.
Death Proof is the worst.
Yeah, it is.
Except for Zoe Bell.
It's number 8. Death Proof number 9, and number 10 used to be a tie.
Well, I'm not that impressed.
And now it's a 10.
Zoe Bell.
Is
awesome.
that all right? Let's see. Brad Williams is out there.
He's certified fresh.
We're going to. Yes. Sorry, Gina.
Oh, sorry. Just wondering because I caught it over the weekend. Anybody see the new Aziz Ansari stand-up special?
Yes.
I would love to talk about that at some point. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, I can do that. We can do that with Brad
That'd be
as
great.
well. Right after this.
And now, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, Brooksville, Florida. A 48-year-old woman is charged with domestic battery after hitting her boyfriend in the face with a frozen pork chop. Definitely not a Jew.
Brad Williams in studio. Podcast about last night with our friend Adam Ray, available on Apple Podcasts. And shoot him a tweet at Funny Brad. I'll give you some live dates in a second. I saw Brad at the Irvine Improv a few weeks ago.
Yeah, man.
Super funny set. Brad slayed him, man.
Thank you. Well, I kind of had the hometown advantage, much like I have this weekend when I'm going to be appearing at the Brea Improv. Professional broadcaster.
This Friday through Sunday, Brea Improv, and then Las Vegas at Jimmy Kimmel.
Kimmel.
Yeah.
Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club.
Is he ethnic?
I hope not. That'll be August 8th through the 11th. And you can get tickets at bradwilliamscomedy.com. Yeah, we did a benefit for the Wounded Warriors or the whatever the group was for the veterans.
Yes.
It kind of struck me. I didn't want to say anything on stage, but you tell me, Brad, what you think.
Okay.
There are some folks I've met who have lost a limb in battle, and big picture, I would say not that day or even later on that week, but big picture in terms of their life has actually been a plus. Like they've turned into motivational speaking. They have their own line of shoes that are coming out, or desert shorts, or like.
Sure.
The guy who was sort of the MC of this thing was missing a leg because he lost it to a bouncing Betty or whatever. More positive than anyone I'd ever met, and I realized he turned this into like a cottage industry. I think a lot of guys just come home, get depressed, and kill themselves. Not this guy.
Well, and when I know the guy you're talking about, he was so positive, and I don't know if one of the lackeys can hop on and find the exact name of the charity just so we can make sure that we give him a plug. But he was amazing, and you kind of think to yourself that they've done all these like happiness studies that say like it doesn't matter if you like get a disease or if you lose a limb or if you win $1 billion, your happiness will always kind of go back to where it is. So this guy was probably a great dude before he lost the limb, and yes, like you say, that week probably not in the best of spirits, but overall he returned back and maybe found a new purpose in life and is now spending his time helping others, which I think is amazing.
Folds of Honor.
Folds of Honor, yes.
And so Brad did a killer set. I was emceeing, and that was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. My favorite part about that was I posted the gig on my Facebook that I was doing this show, and obviously the lineup, it was you, it was Heather McDonald, it was Tone Bell, Steve Byrne, great lineup of comics, and someone commented under, these fucking Trump haters, I'm not going to go see this show. I'd rather support my president who supports the troops. And I commented, it was like,
good.
hold on. So you would rather...
Just by virtue of this evening, we have done far more.
Yes. Just so a night which is clearly designed to just support the troops.
Eliminate the middleman.
Which is apparently your main goal in life. Take all politics out of it. You're like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
And
myopic.
Yeah, that was stunning to me because I try to keep my politics extremely neutral, where you won't know who I support or who I don't support, and man, but like that's just crazy idiocy where you're like, I'm not these fucking Trump supporters, I'm not going to give money to the troops based on their hatred of my president. I'd rather support the troops. Wait, what?
Little gravy brain.
Yeah.
They also, whenever the thing that always jumps out to you about like when you do this stuff is it's a lot of like, can you host it? Can you come out and do this? Can you do it? It's going to be on Tuesday. It's going to be on this day. Yeah, yes. I did stand up and MC, but did a little stand up in between. But I was like, yeah, I can do it. But the one thing they never do, ever, they'll send you 1,000 emails. But when you get to the show, they never put a thing on the door that has like the rundown or the order or the names or the names in order or the order 20 minutes. Then Brad Williams comes on stage. They'll never have that. That'll never be on a piece of paper.
Ever.
So then you go to the back and you're in the back and you're talking to the other comedians, but you're not sure what the order is or who's going first or what or how much time. They could just put it on a piece of paper and tape it to the wall, but they don't. And then this. And Brad may have understood this or not. I don't know. So I'm sitting there, and you get there, and you're saying hi to, oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, Steve Byrne. Yeah, I remember. And then I meet Tone Bell.
Yes.
Tone Bell I don't know, but Tone Bell tells me that when I was playing like the Addison Improv, he was there, and then he came up and said hi, or whatever it was, and then I did my, big fan, no. And he's a brother, so, you don't want to disrespect him, especially with Trump in the office. And they're like, And at a certain point, I find myself sitting backstage, and Tone Bell is on stage, and he's about 12 minutes into his 20-minute set, and I'm like, what is this dude's name again? And then I realize he's going to go thank you and good night, and he's going to walk off stage, and then I have to walk onto stage.
Hey, give it up for what's his
Give it up for what's his nose.
Yeah.
So, give it up for what's his fro. So I'm
What's his fro?
I'm like standing back there. That should be for black guys. Jews is what's his nose.
What's his nose?
Blacks are what's his fro, and that covers all of comedy. There's not a lot of Irish dudes.
Exactly.
So,
I'm what's his stumps?
I'm like back there, and
That and Bill Burr.
everyone's talking, and I don't want to ask. And now the clock in my head's ticking. He's about to say goodnight.
Right.
And I'm just standing back there, and I'm like, oh, hey, Mike, let me talk to you in the kitchen about something important.
Yeah.
And
Can't wait.
Mike and I
Put your
walked to
steak
the
down.
kitchen. I was like, what is that guy's name again who's out there? Because I got to go out there. And whatever. Oh, no. Sorry. Worse. Sorry. Much worse.
Ooh.
Heather McDonald was finishing her set.
Yes.
Tone Bell was coming up next.
That's
and
right.
Tone Bell was sitting in the room next to me.
So you can't just turn to me and be like, hey, what's the guy on stage?
What's his fro?
Yeah.
Up there? So I'm like sitting looking at Tone, and I just got done with, oh, yeah, Addison, man. Yeah, no, big fan. No, yeah. Like it was yesterday.
Right.
And we're all just sitting there, and there's nothing, of course, there's nothing written. There's nothing in an email. You could take a Sharpie and just put it on a piece of paper and just tape it to the wall. It'll never happen. No matter how many of these things you do, they'll never do that.
And to add to your point is sometimes when you do these shows, the people that are doing them obviously have the best intentions. They're just trying to raise some money for charity. They have great hearts, but they don't run comedy shows, so they're not exactly sure how it goes. They think, oh, they're comedians. They're just going to be funny on command. And then you find out right before, they're like, okay, just before your set, I'm going to bring the founder of the charity on stage. Both of his daughters died in a fire this past weekend.
It's going to be an emotional moment.
He's going to talk about it, raise a glass, and then we're going to all pass the hat around, and then we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, and then we're going to auction off several puppies, all of whom are missing limbs, and they all served in the war. And then you're going to come on and close us with hilarity. And you're
Bring home the funny.
You're like, no!
And they never have any sense of time. Like, just do a quick 40, 50 minutes, and then just
Keep it tight.
Keep it tight, like 40, 50 minutes, and then just get off stage.
Yeah, the ultimate version of that is the worst gig I ever did is someone asked me to play a wedding, and I said hell to the no, and they said we're going to pay you this much, and I said what time do I need to be there? And so I show up, and they say, all right, you're going to go on after the maid of honor speech. And I go, fantastic. Maid of honor, we'll probably go up there, maybe not the best with the speaking, and then I bring it home. And she's going to get the audience listening. Perfect. Maid of honor goes up there.
It's Sarah Silverman. She killed.
Maid of honor goes up there.
Dignitar has been a friend of mine for many years.
Son of a! She goes up there and tells the audience, now we all know Mom passed away 4 days ago.
This is
4
uncomfortable.
days ago, and says, but this was always her dream to see us finally hand it off. And then the room is crying, absolutely sobbing. She's like, she's looking down from up above. And then I promise you guys, this was my introduction. As she's crying, going, let's raise a glass to Mom, the patriarch of the family. And she goes, and now the comedy of Brad Williams.
Oh my
It
God.
was that. Yeah, that was a response after my set. It was just, the bomb there. Oh, the bomb.
And nobody gave you a heads up.
No,
Hey,
nothing,
Mom died.
Nothing. Oh, by the way, in case you're doing mother-in-law jokes, maybe back off.
Oh my God.
Huge
Nothing.
laughs at Irvine. I will say that because I was
All the moms
I
were
was
alive
going
there.
on after Brad. I was in between every act. So I was like standing behind the curtain. So Joe, 40, Oregon, has thoughts about Hungarian storytelling. Yes.
Hey, Ace Man, what's happening?
Hey, man.
Love you so much. I saw your show in Portland a week ago.
Oh, good. Which show did you go to?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to guess.
let's
You went
see.
to the first show Saturday night.
Friday night.
Oh, okay. All right. You had a good time?
Loved it.
Good.
And Paul, Gina, love you guys. I love easy listening, too. That's fun.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Look at that.
Thanks, Joe. You had a question?
And, yeah, Mr. Brad Williams, you're awesome as well. And Ace,
Everyone's covered.
I love it when you talk about the Hungarian grandpa because my family's Hungarian. And we say about Hungarians that we have the gift for gab, or we have a proficiency with language that's a little bit more friendly and open than a lot of Eastern Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, did your grandpa ever talk about the old world, or did he give you any insight of like that from Hungary? Because I thought it might have like translated into your incredible abilities right now with telling stories.
Well, thanks. I had a Hungarian grandfather, Laszlo Gorog. He was a good guy. He was the only one in the family that ever loved anybody.
It's because he wasn't blood related.
By
Right.
marriage.
And he would sit down, and because my family was a shambles, we would sleep at their house a lot. Like, seemed like a couple nights a week we'd sleep at my grandparents' house. They were not too far away, and my grandfather cooked goulash, and, I was in. And he would always tell us a bedtime story, but he wouldn't read it, and it wouldn't be Dr. Seuss or Hansel and Gretel, whatever. He would tell stories, and they would be like episodic. There'd be the girl, and the girl was missing a finger or something, and he would explain, how it went, and then it would just sort of keep going, and then, at the end he'd go, and then more, the rest of the story tomorrow night, and we'd go like, oh, don't leave us with this
Cliffhanger. Wow.
On tomorrow night's episode of Bedtime Story.
And he would just
Binge
riff
listen this?
He would riff these stories and tell these great stories, and I didn't. No one else in my family spoke. My grandmother
So you had
would
a real
correct-
leg up.
She would
Certainly
correct
not
your-
to each other.
Yeah,
certainly not to bring joy to
right.
one another.
So it struck me, and then at some point, years and years later, and he'd always tell me how clever he thought this person was, or the storytelling, and he had a big emphasis on it. And then later on, at some point in my adult life, I heard some study that said like the Hungarians were known for their storytelling, which I did not know, but now makes sense going back to Laszlo Gorog.
Yeah. And it's fantastic that you got the Hungarian part of it, because a lot of the Eastern European storytellers, Patton Oswalt does a joke like this, Christina Przinski does a joke like this. They talk about how the Eastern European fairy tales are not exactly cheerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I tell you a story about young girl. She was thrown on top of tree stump. Lumberjack cut her limbs off. And that's why you learn, don't go outside after 4 p.m. Good night. And you're just like, oh, shit.
Contrast that with this Hungarian tale.
Ipafai pupna puppy file van Ipafai puppy peepa puppy floppy pa.
There you go.
yeah,
They get the gab. You can see where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So be very fortunate that you got the Hungarian storytelling
Yes.
gene and not the Chechnyan.
Yeah.
I tell you, happiest day of life was when father died and leave me his lucky pen. It was his lucky pen because he stabbed the man who molested him at age 5 with it. Good night.
Well, that was, I don't know, right up there with me watching Wall-E with my Guatemalan nanny, and she's telling me about the cucaracha with the cockroach.
the song.
And I just going, well, what is the rest of that song? Again, lunchtime. It meant lunchtime on a construction site. And she's like, a cockroach died, had its limbs removed, and was, she's doing it in Spanish, like, buried on a hill with a mouse and a buzzard. And I went, oh, now I'm starving. we gotta bust out the DiGiorno because I'm fucking now. I've been salivating the whole time. You're talking about a mouse and a buzzard and having his legs removed.
Nothing says street tacos.
Yeah, it's such a
membered.
It's all mouse and buzzard.
And there's different versions of it, but it involves a buzzard and a mouse and limb removal and buried on a hill.
Who knew?
Cockroach was my only pet growing up. My only friend. I ride cockroach to school. Very friendly cockroach. Then we so poor we cannot eat. Father, boil cockroach. Put some sauce on. I eat. I live another day. Good night.
The end.
Eastern European fairy tales.
That's great.
That's a funny bit.
I wish I had Eastern European relatives. Like I don't have this. I've just gotten these stories from others that do.
Do you ever see pictures of the elderly women from that era?
Oh,
I mean,
Hardy. Angry.
They look like sea hags, right? Like
this is us Christmas Day. So happy.
Let me this. I will give anyone $1,000 if they can produce a picture of one of those women giving the shaka bra, the hang loose shaka bra, or just a thumbs up, just like a jar. I'll give $5,000 for a shaka bra and $1,000 for a thumbs up if you can provide an old picture with the babushka.
$500 for double horns.
Yeah,
because that actually might be in context.
Even just a hundo for a turned up smile.
Yes.
Technically, I do shaka bra all time because I have disease at age 5. I lose 4 fingers on each hand. My hands are doing constant shaka bra. I like the music of Bob Marley. Good night.
They're always looking down and they're always angry as hell.
Yeah.
I get at the beginning of photographs, we were a little more serious, and we took it as like the endeavor was serious.
You had to stand there. It was a whole event.
But
you had to get ready.
Somebody would smile. All right, let's see. Oh, Aziz, the special. Gina asked me.
Love to hear your thoughts about that.
I enjoyed it. I watched it. I didn't have strong feelings, but I felt like it was a departure for him, and I liked it. And
departure.
And I thought it was good.
Yeah, well, it reminded me just tonally of the one that blew up. I guess it was last year, the Nanette by Hannah Gadsby. I think she's Australian. It's a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of almost cautionary tale peppered in with some sort of jokes. And I love Aziz. I've always loved him. I love his comedy. And this was just so different. I watched it twice. I was really sort of compelled to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And he seemed very sad to me, and that made me sad. And I don't know, I just wanted to talk about it with somebody.
Well, I've seen it as well.
Found a home. I felt like there was a thing that he did in before, which is a little bit of that wiggery kind of
watch
vibe. I don't know what to call
That's
it.
That's a hard W. A hard W.
Yeah.
Other words come up.
That was a little more sort of
Jones.
phrase dropping, and this was a little more personal and a little more intimate, and a little more had more substance to it, I enjoyed it.
I love it's so self-aware that it kind of turned in on itself in that sort of meta way. But I loved all of his hot takes on his past bits about R. Kelly.
That was great.
That blew my mind.
Funny as hell.
But a lot of people, I just tweeted his name just to see what people were saying about it.
Yeah.
And it was, my head was going to explode. There's this girl, and I should have brought screenshots, but she was going after him. He's, and here in this screenshot, he's touching this, kid in the front row like he thinks he's Joe Biden, and he says he's woke, and he's not woke, and I'm just like, will you shut up? Give him a break.
In the special, he talks about the snake eating its tail
That's
in terms
exactly
of people.
the point.
You can never be woke enough, and there's always someone who are more woke and that's going to call you out, which was hilarious. And then they go right ahead and prove that. I agree with the tone, and I think one of the reasons why the tone was so different is because of what he went through with the Me Too movement. First of all, he talked about it up front, but not in a joking way, which I think is smart for him because he doesn't want to seem insensitive or act like he's getting material from,
Right.
I get that
weird,
part.
Weird way to start the show.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are watching it to find out, what does he have to say about it? He was very careful up front, and then I think the tone, the rest kind of reflects that, where he doesn't want to talk about that, and then the rest of the special do the Aziz stuff where he's like, and then we had a Pepsi. Like it doesn't make sense when you juxtapose those two things.
Yeah, the tone was even.
I think it was really well done, and Spike Jonze directed it, and
it's very stripped down.
had a very interesting camera angle, a new camera angle that I've never seen in stand-up before.
Right up the nose.
On stage, right next to the guy, slightly to the left.
I agree, and
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let me hit Castrol Edge, and then we'll take a break. We'll come back and do the news. You can tweet us at hit us and tweet us at Adam Carolla Show with the hashtag Castrol Challenge with your questions for Castrol Challenge, brought to you by Castrol Edge. Formulated with fluid titanium technology. Reduces heat and friction 3 times. Sorry,
3
Maddie.
times, fool.
What do you got, Max Spada?
At MWDeem on Instagram wants to know hashtag Castrol Challenge. What were the cars you thought were cool and wanted to own when you were in high school?
Well, I kept the bar fairly low because I knew where I was and where
As a Carolla.
You knew
kind
what
of
you were.
student I
Yeah.
was and all that kind of stuff. And the kind of
Wanted a
cars.
Gremlin.
I thought like a VW Scirocco was kind of cool. Like is potential.
yeah.
Could buy this car used in 5 years if everything went right in the ditch digging department.
It was more about what was attainable.
Yeah, like I sort of thought that that was the early 80s, and so like Corvettes had kind of bottomed out, and Mustangs had kind of bottomed out. Like there wasn't a great offering in the Corvette Mustang department. For me, I always thought the Z car was kind of cool. Earlier model 240 Z car. The Scirocco.
That looks like a Golf, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like VW sort of made a slightly sportier version of the Rabbit of the Rabbit.
Yeah, the Rabbit.
That looks like a car that's about to turn into a boat.
I always loved. We're looking at a picture of one that's a little.
Yeah.
The problem with the internet is when you just type in Scirocco, you get sort of one that's a little different than what would have just been like a picture of a stock Scirocco.
Well, that's a nice Scirocco.
I was going to say, it's one that someone thought, I should post this because it's a nice car.
Yeah, and it's got a big rag rooftop that's all the way open and stuff like that. I don't remember them having that, but either way,